now it's time for our drivers and teams to pack up and leave the darkness of the Nürburgring for a short trip this time, just across Europe to the south of France for round 8 of the GT3 Championship for Season 5, which takes place at the circuit Paul Ricard. Before round 8 though, let's have a quick recap of the events that took place in round 7 of the Nürburgring. Hubert Aigner qualified on pole alongside Nils Nins, who took second again out of qualifying. But it was Hugo Rodriguez who made his intentions clear straight from the drop of the flag in the start of the race, moving up from 5th, trying to take second before the first corner. Nils Nins shut him off and pushed him back down to 3rd, but it was Hubert Aigner took away pole and moved to the front of a race, a position he was not to relinquish until the drop of the checkered flag. Aigner's biggest threat in the championship, Manuel Duque, qualified poorly down the field, but this incident very shortly into the lap, just on lap 2, where Duque caught a curb, went straight off the track and straight into the wall, was to ruin Duque's race and potentially his chance for the championship, resulting into a trip into the pits for extensive repairs. Meanwhile, Urti took the opportunity to move up the field, and did Nils Nins, but both of these threats faded away as the race went on, leaving Hugo Rodriguez in 2nd place. Coming towards the end of the race, Dami Ayo seemed to be carrying some form of problem after car overtook him in the final few laps and he tumbled down the field. Both Sajak, Voodoo, Wilson, Prajashki, Becker, Farrell all went past Ayo in just 3 or 4 laps. And although Dami tried to put up a fight, it was clear he was losing pace somewhere, and closer inspection of the car revealed heavy damage. But it was Hubert Aigner who took victory yet again for Tier 7, earning another 100 points to increase his championship lead. Coming across the line in 2nd place, Hugo Rodriguez, who joined the league too late to make a big impression, but would have been a serious championship contender if he'd been a part of the league from the outset. So let's have a look at the Drivers' Championship coming out of the Nürburgring round. Hubert Aigner did increase his lead. He's now got a 118 point lead over Manuel Duque of 420 Racing, who's in 2nd. For SVR team, it's Thomas Sajak in 3rd. For TWG Motorsports, it's Sindre Ragnarsson in 4th. Conal McCarthy moved up 1 position back into 5th, while Nectaria Kutiar dropped down the table into 6th place. Lev Bolokhan of 420 Racing moved up a couple of places in the table. He's now in 7th. Both the Shadow Lotuses occupy 8th and 9th, Steph Farrell and Kirill Bozharsky respectively, and Urti dropped down the table into 10th. In the Teams Championship, 420 Racing now have a strong lead of 151 points over TWG Motorsports. It's behind TWG Motorsports where things are hotting up. It's SVR team, followed closely by Shadow Lotus AMR. Breakdancers are in 5th, Beeswax Racing in 6th, and Lusus round out the table in 7th. However, following the round up at Nürburgring, quite a number of incidents were submitted to the stewards, and pending outcomes and possible point deductions, both the Drivers' Championship and the Teams Championship could be affected. So let's have a look at the starting grid coming out of qualifying. Qualifying well this week and on pole position, it's Antonis McCormick of Breakdancers with a time of 1:55.443. Alongside him is Hubert Aigner. Row 2, it's SVR team's Thomas Sajak alongside Shadow Lotus AMR and Steph Farrell. Row 3, it's 420 Racing, an entry of Lev Bolokhan alongside Beeswax Racing, Nils Nins. Row 4 is the 2nd Breakdancers entry of Hugo Rodriguez alongside Voodoo. Row 5 is the 2nd SVR team entry of Daniel Yellon alongside the Lusus of Pedro Vieira. Row 6 is the 2nd Shadow Lotus AMR entry of Kirill Bozharsky alongside TWG Motorsports of Dami Ayo. Row 7, qualifying well down the field this week in 13th place, is the 420 Racing of Manuel Duque alongside Nectaria Kutiar. Row 8 is Sindre Ragnarsson of TWG Motorsports alongside the Lusus of Felipe Silva. On row 9 is Lord Nem alongside Eduardo Tripiana. Row 10 is Kieran Wilson alongside a new entry this week for Maximilian Roth Joining Tier 7 with just 2 rounds to go. Row 11, it's Artos Ivanov alongside the Beeswax Racing entry of Steve Bezic. On row 12 is the return of Özkan Memisoglu alongside Conal McCarthy. And rounding out the field, on row 13, it's Erti alongside Simon Thries. So Antonis McCormick leading out the field as they form up for the start of the race. There are a number of drivers incur penalties after the race at the Nürburgring. Lev Bolokon has got a drive-through penalty to be served with at the start of a race. David Yellon has got a 30-second stop-go after a couple of incidents at the Nürburgring. And Kieran Wilson also has a drive-through to serve at the start of the race, following penalties handed out by the stewards. And McCormick allowing the field to form up behind him now as he slows down. Rolling start, as ever, for the Assetto Corsa races. And with only 2 rounds to go, it's Hubert Aigner on the left of our picture, who's in prime position to take the championship. A victory in this race will see him form an unassailable lead. And Manuel Duque has qualified well down the field as they turn around the last corner and roll up towards the start-finish line and wait for the lights to go out. McCormick's not been this far up the field for a number of races now, so we'll be hoping to do well. And his teammate from Breakdancers is just a few places behind him, but the lights have changed. They're away, and Nils Nins immediately makes a dive up the inside of Steph Farrell. But McCormick looks clear, and there's a gaggle of cars right behind them as they come around the first corner. And everybody looks to be through cleanly as McCormick leads them round. And Aigner looks to be holding on to second place as both Nils Nins and Thomas Sajak line up either side of him. McCormick already establishing a slight lead. It is Sajak who's gone through second, and Aigner has dropped back. And again, the rest of the field seeming to get through cleanly at the moment. Thomas Sajak moved well clear of the field as Aigner's got both Rodriguez and Nils Nins tucked up behind him. And somebody's gone right off there to the side. I think it might have been Pajarski of the Shadow Lotus AMR as the rest of the field goes through. And down the Mistral straight for the first time. A big feature of this track is the Mistral straight. Most drivers admit they get a little bit bored. It's a long way. But the real challenge is the turn at the end. You can see there the big slide from McCormick first time round. But the rest of the field look like they managed to make it okay. McCormick still ahead of Sajak. But now his teammate Rodriguez has got past Aigner. So Breakdancers put in a strong start the first lap. So Breakdancers now in first and third before the first lap's over. And it's round the final corner onto the start-finish straight to finish the first lap of the 8th round of the GT3 Championship for Season 5. Only one more round remains after this week, and it'll be a trip off to Suzuka. Aigner trying to challenge back there. Bolokon pulls into the pits, as does Daniel Yellon. And Wilson all serving their penalties they picked up from last week. And Conal McCarthy at the back of the field. Oh no, Pajarski at the back of the field. Suffering in that incident. when he saw him speared off the race, so must have damage already and into the pits. So not going to be a great race for the Shadow Lotus AMR. It's McCormick who leads away. Sajak breathing down his neck. And it's Hubert Aigner slipping down into 4th place with Rodriguez behind him. There's most to lose. And just on the first lap, Erti catches the back of Manuel Duque there. Duque needing a good result this week if it's to keep his championship alive against Aigner. But that is not going to help. Pushing him right down the field. Erti just seemed to slide into the back of him. And meanwhile, Maximilian Roth on the Mistral straight is sizing up Eduardo Tripiana for a pass. Just coming up to the big right-hander at the end of the straight. It looks like, yeah, Roth's really hung it in there. The Porsche of Tripiana goes a little bit wide, and Roth goes up the inside, making the pass. That should put him into 13th place. Pushing Tripiana down to 14th. So Roth's first outing in this season of Apex Online Racing. With Lord Nem now. Lord Nem in 18th place. There was confirmation in the chat window during the live broadcast that Lord Nem is a Lord. I'm not too sure how true it was, but Lord Nem's having quite a trip across the can't be said to be gravel traps at Paul Ricard. It's just painted tarmac, so it's very easy to make a recovery, but Lord Nem, big slide there. May well have damaged his tyres and he's dropped back a couple of places. It may well be down in 21st there. I'm not sure if that was the Audi of Memisoglu just in front of him. Now it's Steve Bezic of Beeswax Racing who's next to line up Tripiana coming down the Mistral straight. Taking the more difficult option of the outside line to go around the Porsche. Is he going to make it work? I think he has. Eduardo's compromised for the next corner, and the McLaren 720S sweeps around. The Porsche has a good little look up the inside, but it's not enough. The McLaren will have the inside of the next corner and will make that pass stick. So Tripiana drops down another place. Now he's got Ivanov's in the Lexus breathing down his neck. The Lexus clearly at a huge disadvantage this week because it's not raining. And we join Silva attacking Coutillard at the same place, going at the end of the Mistral straight. Silva makes that work, dives up the inside. Coutillard tries to come back, nearly touch. But it's difficult to make a pass from behind, going around that complex of corners. Coutillard will keep trying. I think Silva's got that position. Silva up into 10th, Coutillard just outside the top 10 now. We join Ragnarsson, trying to size up Priest in the Lexus, coming into the start-finish straight, and the Lexus gone a little bit wide there, would have lost a little bit of speed. So Ragnarsson will be trying to get a toe now as we come up to the first corner. Very difficult left-hander. But Ragnarsson trying for the inside line, and that will force Priest wide. And in the end, Ragnarsson makes it look pretty easy. Priest knew his line was compromised. Had to let the Mercedes go. Now with Thomas Sajak again down the Mistral straight, sizing up the race leader, McCormick, and he's made that look very easy. Must have got a good toe from a Nissan. Good clean pass at the inside, so Thomas Sajak into first place, McCormick down to second. So Breakdancer's early grip on this race starts to move away from them. And we with Conor McCarthy, who was doing well at the start of this season, but it really seems to have struggled and he's lost the rear end there of a Lamborghini. Spins right round, does a quick recovery and rejoins the track, but he's already was in 20th place when that happened. So Conor really struggling towards the end of his season, and that's Lord Nem in front of him. That would imply he's down in 21st place, and We joined Connell at the end of that lap into the pits, so he's clearly carrying some sort of problem. Maybe had an off. We didn't catch, caught the wall. But that is not a good start for Conor McCarthy this early in the race to be pitting for repairs. Lev Balokon closing up on Priest. Next driver to be sizing up Priest. Lev Balokon, remember, very quick driver, qualified quite high up the field. So out of position, and will have a lot of speed. He's going around the outside of Priest in a difficult set of corners, but he's got him on the inside of the next corner. And at the bottom of the course, turning onto the Mistral straight, Balokon will have much better speed from the line he's got. And Priest will not be able to respond. The Bentley very quick on the back straight. So Balokon will continue to climb back up the field, having served that drive-through penalty right at the start of the race. And now the next car ahead of him will be his own teammate. And we cut to Manuel Duque, his teammate, attacking Ragnarsson on the back straight. He's got the inside line for the right-hander. That's the best line to have if you're going to make an attack. And Duque sweeps through on the Mercedes. TWG Motorsports pushed down one place. Surrounded now by the 420 Racing Bentleys. And we join Steve Bezic again in the Beeswax Racing McLaren. He's got Ivanovs behind him. And just behind that, Tripiana. Oh, he's lost the rear end. A little slide. But it's one of the fastest parts of the track. And a little slide is all it takes for Ivanovs and Tripiana to go through. So Bezic slips down to 15th. And he's got it all to do again to pass both the Lexus and the Porsche. Back up to the front of a race. And McCormick just behind Sajak. But Aigner's right behind McCormick. A little slide there from the Nissan. Aigner will be waiting for any sign of weakness to pounce. We're only 7 laps into the race. Surely McCormick's not pushed his tyres too hard already. But they nose to tail down the Mistral straight. Sajak holding it on the right hand side, trying to make sure that he can hold on to the inside line for the right hander at the end. So if everybody wants to go past him, they have to go a long way around the outside. Sajak sweeps across, but Aigner is now goes around the outside. And McCormick is compromised on the inside. I think Aigner may go sweep right round the Nissan. And you can see the slide from the rear there of a Nissan. That'll have cost McCormick speed, so Aigner will take that place. Aigner's got the inside for the next left-hander. So McCormick from the front slips down into 3rd place. And now Steph Farrell is right behind him. It's only 7 laps in and the lead changing already. And now it's Voodoo closing in on Hugo Rodriguez. And he's got the inside line for the next right-hander, giving Voodoo the advantage. And already Rodriguez looks a little compromised. He's still trying. Tries to get the inside of the next corner, but his speed on the previous corner was too compromised to be able to carry enough speed through. So Voodoo gets him at the bottom of the course. And as they sweep round to begin the next run up the Mistral straight, Rodriguez has got to hope he can use the toe he can get off the Bentley to attack Voodoo in return at the end. And we cut to the end of the Mistral straight. And Rodriguez is still there. Voodoo taking the inside line to try and force Rodriguez around the long way. But the difficulty with their approaches is you've got to brake harder on the inside to make sure you can make the corner. So who's going to be the bravest? And it looks like Rodriguez was the bravest. Voodoo on the brakes a little bit earlier. Rodriguez sweeps around the outside and takes the place back from Voodoo almost immediately. And it's Nils Nins hovering in the background, waiting for an opportunity. But I think Nils will have to wait to the next time down the Mistral straight to have a go. Meanwhile, Duque is catching up with the McLaren of Beeswax Racing with Steve Bezic, but Steve Bezic having an attack on Tripiana again, same place, and gets up the inside this time. Outside on the first attempt, inside on the second attempt, but past Tripiana and trying to pull away, and that means Duque trying to get round Tripiana next. And Wilson catching up with Ragnarsson. Forcing Ragnarsson a little wide around that corner. Would have cost him some apex speed, and that might be the opportunity Wilson needs. He's got the inside for the next right-hander. Ragnarsson has to decide whether he's going to risk it or not, and decides not to, so Wilson slips up the inside. So Wilson moves ahead. So we cut to the leaders of a race starting the pit stops. Oh, Sajak goes right into the pit wall barriers. McCormick is in the pits right after him, but if Sajak needs repairs, that will have just handed a position straight to McCormick. And we cut to the pit lane exit, and surely enough, McCormick's out first. Sajak trailing out behind him. And that's Aigner coming through. So that's Aigner fighting with Sajak for second place in the race. And he looks like Aigner is through, so McCormick looks to be back in the lead, I believe. Aigner into second and Sajak down to third. Once all the pit stops have shaken out, number of drivers still ahead of them. And the next driver into the pits is Wilson and Trippiani. So cutting to the exit of the pits, there goes Wilson. And here comes Trippiani having completed his pit stop. But his entry did look a bit quick. And yes, this week's victim of pit lane speeding is Eduardo Trippiani. He's got a 30-second stop go. So whilst he was battling with Beeswax Racing, I think that's all over now following that penalty. And it is Aigner who's leading out the race. He must have got past McCormick whilst we weren't with them. So at 18 lap mark, Aigner moves to the head of the race. McCormick into second. Voodoo now takes third. Sajak ended up in fifth. With Maximilian Roth, his first outing with Apex Online for this season. And that looked like a bit of a tight corner there. And surely enough, Roth has got a drive-through penalty. That'll be his race deeply affected as well. Now we're with Rodriguez trying to get past Voodoo just ahead in the Bentley for fourth place. Coming down the Mistral straight. Voodoo again occupying the inside line, forcing Rodriguez this time to the outside. And up ahead, McCormick's got a drive-through penalty. That's McCormick's race over. But it looks like Rodriguez has made the same move work as his teammate McCormick on the Bentley of Voodoo. Round the outside at the end of the Mistral straight. And the Bentley is tucked up right behind the Nissan. Rodriguez tries to pull away. A little gap forming. But with McCormick having a drive-through penalty, presumably for track cuts, that'll move Voodoo right up there. And let's see where McCormick picked up that penalty. Was it there? Did he go too wide at the bottom of the course? Surely he did. There's the drive-through. So that is McCormick. Going to be pushed down the field. Maybe not too far. There's quite a big gap back to Silver. But Hubert Aigner really seems to get all the luck every week. McCormick was his closest threat. Will be removed. Rodriguez now is 10 seconds behind, and there goes McCormick serving his penalty. Looking to rejoin the track. And we'll have to see who's in front of him to figure out where he is in relation to the rest of the field. So easy to pick up a drive-through penalty at Paul Ricard. That looked like Silver, I think, behind him. I just got a glance of one of the Lusus Aston Martins, and it looked like Io of TWG Motorsports behind him. So yeah, McCormick into fifth place following that drive-through. So the lead of a race now to Aigner, Rodriguez in second. Cutting back to earlier on, Steph Farrell fighting with Sajak. Oh, they've touched. And that's Steph Farrell right for track. Sajak as well. And here comes Nils Nins just behind that. Oh no! That was a big crunch. Steph Farrell rejoining the track without really looking. That was a big impact on Nils Nins. And an even bigger impact on Steph Farrell. Not looking where he was going on rejoining the track. Steph Farrell straight into the pits. Following that, must have needed repairs. That McLaren came round the corner, unsighted, straight into the side of the Aston Martin. And Nils Nins, look at the damage on the front of that McLaren. Not electing to pit, but he's being passed almost straight away by Felipe Silva in the Lusus Aston Martin. And right behind Silva is Io of TWG Motorsports, Beeswax Racing. It's a repeat of Silverstone where Nils was dropping down the field like a stone in the last half of the race. And that damage on that McLaren, surely he can't keep Io, and then it's Vieira who's lining up as well in shot. All must be carrying much higher speed through the track. Onto the Mistral straight. Io just sweeps around the outside. McLaren definitely down on speed. I think only one of his indicators is working. The one at the front is definitely not. Tries to tuck in behind Io to try and get some tow. But Pedro Vieira is right behind him. See a much tighter line the Aston Martin was able to take. And goes the inside of that bend. Nils goes quite wide. And I think, yep, Aston Martin sweeps through at a place where you wouldn't normally expect an overtaking manoeuvre to work. So Nins already down to 9th place. Coutiat in the background. Trippiana, remember, had a drive-through, so he's actually a lap down. But Trippiana's able to get past the McLaren quite easily, despite their difference in relative pace. Nins was a front runner in this race. Coutiat straight through, putting Nins down to 10th place. Next driver to be sizing up Nins will be Wilson in the Porsche. Only a second away. And there he comes. Speeding straight past, and then we've got Duque next. But Lockin was probably in the background as well. It's all going wrong for Nins again. Another nightmare race, just like Silverstone. Where's his teammate? The other Beeswax Racing is currently in 15th place, but appears to be quite held up. It's quite of a gap, 18 seconds. So is he going to be able to catch him? Or will he see teammates McLaren in his rear view mirrors again and just spin it just like he did at Silverstone, just to do the denial? Duque through, Balok on next. Nins must be praying for the end of the race to come. Just behind Trippiana was Ivanovs. So Ivanovs is also within range of Nils Nins, because there's still quite a few laps to go. Locken swings out, sizes up the McLaren. He's able to carry much more speed into the next corner. Nils goes quite wide. Trippiana's back through, and Ivanovs is now right behind him. And with the Mistral straight and the McLaren like wounded prey to everybody who catches it on the Mistral. Straight past, even at the start, the Mistral straight. The Lexus goes straight past the McLaren. That'll put Nils down into 14th place, and quite a gap to his teammate. Let's see how that gap formed. Here's Steve Bezic in the Beeswax Racing trying to get past Memi Soglu. And he goes up the inside, but Memi Soglu seemed to turn into him just to catch the rear quarter of the McLaren, spun it right out. maximum speed at that point, so the tyres will be heavily damaged, and that may explain the time lost for Beeswax Racing. Unable to pass, and Aigner crosses the line. Aigner takes victory on 31 laps. Second place goes to Hugo Rodriguez of Breakdancers. And in third place, it's Voodoo in the Bentley. And that concludes round 8 of the championship for this season. Let's move on and have a look at the official race results. And coming in first place, it's Hubert Aigner, who with a haul of 100 points moves to an unassailable lead for this season's championship. So Hubert Aigner is crowned champion of Tier 7 for Season 5 of the GT3 Championship. In second place in this round, it was Hugo Rodriguez of Breakdancers. In third place was Voodoo. SVR team came in fourth with Thomas Sajak. Breakdancers' second entry for Antonis McCormick finished in fifth. First TWG Motorsports finisher was Dami Ayo in sixth. Then it's the two Lusus of Felipe Silva in seventh and Pedro Vieira in eighth. Then it's two 420 Racing entries. Manuel Duque finished ahead of Lev Balokon, who finished in 10th. Nectaria Kutia finished in 11th. Arturs Ivanov finished in 12th. Kieran Wilson in 13th. And Nils Nins dropped down to 14th following that heavy damage with the collision with Steph Farrell for Beeswax Racing. The other Beeswax Racer, Steve Bezic, finished right behind him in 15th. In 16th place, Steph Farrell managed to get the Shadow Lotus back on the track again following repairs. The second entry for TWG Motorsports of Sindri Ragnarsson was in 17th. The second Shadow Lotus AMR of Kirill Pozharsky was in 18th. Kirill seemed to not have a good week this week at Paul Ricard. The second entry for SVR team of Daniel Yellon managed to get to 19th following that 30-second stop go. Simon Priest finished in 20th. Our new driver this week, Maximilian Roth, finished in 21st. Lord Nem came across the line in 22nd. Conal McCarthy, 23rd. Eduardo Tripiana in 24th. Oscar Memisoglu was 25th. Urti finished 26th. So let's have a look at the Drivers' Championship for Tier 7 and see how those results have affected the outcome. Hubert Aigner is confirmed as champion of the Tier 7 for Season 5 with an unassailable lead of 662 points. Second place 420 Racing driver Manuel Duque cannot catch him in now. The gap is 171 points. There's only one round to go. Just behind Manuel for SVR team is Thomas Sajak, the gap only 39 points, so all to race for at Suzuka. In fourth place for TWG Motorsports, it's Sindri Ragnarsson. In fifth place, Nectaria Kutia. Only 2 points difference between him and fourth place Sindri. Sixth place, the other 420 Racing of Lev Balokon. In seventh place, Conal McCarthy slipped back 2 more positions. He had a torrid time at Paul Ricard and his worst result of the season, so clearly not a track he gets on with. In 8th place for Breakdancers, it's Hugo Rodriguez, and considering Hugo's not done many races this season, it emphasises the strength of his results that he's managed to get up to 8th place in the top 10 Drivers' Championship. In 9th place, it's the second entry for TWG Motorsports of Dami Ayo, who re-enters the top 10. And in 10th place, slipping down a couple of places, is Steph Farrell of Shadow Lotus AMR. Looking at the team's championship, 420 Racing look to be clear of the field. They're 141 points clear of TWG Motorsports. Lev Balokon and Manuel Duque are putting strong results in every single round this season, with at least one of them usually inside the top 5. So Dami Ayo and Sindri Ragnarsson are going to have to put in extra strong performances at Suzuka and hope for the worst for the 420 Racing drivers if they're to stand any chance of pipping them at the post in the final round. In third place, it's SVR team, and in fourth place, it's Shadow Lotus AMR, who are 1 point clear of Breakdancers. Steph Farrell of Shadowlossus AMR was involved in what looked like quite an incident in this round at Paul Ricard, so it remains to be seen what the stewards may make of that and how that may affect the team's championship. 100 points behind breakdancers, it's Beeswax Racing, who seem to be struggling every week and experiencing quite a bit of bad luck. So it's going to be difficult for them to get back into the game. And riding out the table in 7th place, it's Lussus. That concludes the action at Paul Ricard. Final round in Seasons 5 of the GT3 Championship takes place at Suzuka on the 17th of November. Qualifying will be at 7:30, but the extra challenge for the final round is not only is it a 90-minute endurance race, but it's taking place at dusk, with the start in the game at 7:30 at night, meaning the race will finish in complete darkness. However, the weather report gives only a 20% chance of rain, so we're hoping for clear skies, a decent conditioned track, and just the darkness to contend with. Also coming up soon, it's the 6 Hours of Kent, and Beeswax Racing have entered 2 cars for this event. This will be taking place at Brands Hatch. The race itself will take place on Saturday the 28th of November, with the race commencing at 3 PM. Also coming up soon, on the 5th of December, is a special Assetto Corsa social race around the full Nordschleife endurance circuit for both GT3 and LMP1 class cars. This is a fun race being arranged by Apex Online Racing, so please use the links below if you want to enter and join us having a race around a track that we don't get to use very often, and a lot of people have been asking for the full Nordschleife in Assetto Corsa Competizione. It's never going to come, is what we believe, so Assetto Corsa gives us the next best thing, and I'm particularly looking forward to racing an LMP1. Thanks for watching, hope you've enjoyed this show. Please leave a comment and a like if you have, and please subscribe if you want to watch more. Hopefully we'll see you next week for the final round of Season 5 of the GT3 Championship, hosted by Apex Online Racing. Thanks and good night.